If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below.
DC Comics. For Riddlering.
Well, considering the Riddler actually killed this guy by bludgeoning him to death and not stabbing him, I'm going to have to call shenanigans. Besides, getting stabbed in Gotham could be anyone, let alone a high-tier villain like Edward Nygma. Dude, the Riddler in this movie is named Edward Nashton. Notice I said high-tier? Exactly.
Also, this long take of Riddler scoping out Mayor Mitchell's house on Halloween tells you that you are about to experience a very long Halloween indeed.
Nice long Halloween pun, but it isn't entirely accurate, as The Long Halloween was a story about Harvey Dent. In fact, I'd say The Dark Knight was more of a long Halloween adaptation than this movie was, considering Nolan literally got the bones of the plot correct. Most people remember that movie for the Joker, but like The Long Halloween, it's truly about Harvey Dent.
Here's an open skylight, and the police will later suggest the killer entered through an open skylight. I just want to know, who f***ing opens a skylight 30 feet above their living room? How do they do it? Do they have a super long tool on a stick? Do they go up on the roof? It's f***ing pouring rain here in a bit, so how fast can you close this bitch when the rain comes? Imagine the real estate agent. Yes, this is the most expensive penthouse in Gotham City. It's 6,000 square feet and comes with a skylight you can choose to occasionally open about 6 inches for when you want to breeze, but only when it's 30 feet above your head where it does you no good. Honestly, the skylight is the biggest f***ing sin in the entire movie so far.
That was a lot. My main issues with this sin are that you think this is the biggest sin in the movie so far, and basically everything you said about the skylight. I mean, you're asking how they close the skylight when the obvious answer is that homes with skylights come with poles to open and close them. How do you think they got it open in the first place? Also, you've made a physics faux pas. No matter how high the skylight is in the room, cooler air is denser than warmer air, so it will sink to the lowest point in the room, thereby cooling that room. And lastly, the so far bit. Dude, it's literally the 1 minute 57 second mark in the film. You and I both know the biggest sin in this movie so far was the DC Comics thing. You know, because DC Comics.
Look at these worthless fucking lamps. I joke a lot about movie scenes having too many lamps, but this is different. These lamps are only on for color purposes. They are lighting nothing. The TV is doing 95% of the lighting lifting in this room right now.
The implication of this sin is that you should light your room with a television. That's silly for a variety of reasons that I won't get into right now. However, that specific implication is why you believe those lamps are doing nothing. Because the TV is much brighter. This is almost as dumb as the sin in the Glass video where you insinuated flashing lights should have the same effect in sunlight.
Those glasses may be a prescription, and they definitely somehow make this character creepier, but they are bad for stealth. There's so much light reflecting off of them, I'm not sure how the mayor didn't see him peripherally. Contacts do exist.
That is such a YouTuber thing to say. Why are you wearing glasses, Four Eyes? Why not wear the prohibitively more expensive thing, broke ass?
Look, you go through all this trouble to make sure you don't leave hair samples or DNA in this place, but then you scream like a maniac when you go in for the kill? There is a security detail downstairs, right? Maybe somebody outside the door? Who in the doesn't hear this? And why doesn't the mayor of such a huge crime-riddled city have security cameras all over the interior and exterior of his home?
The movie mentions the security detail was downstairs, and as this is a fairly large building, it's obvious they didn't and couldn't hear anything. And this is his home. Why would he have security cameras inside his own house? You can make an argument for the exterior, but even then, why the roof? Most criminals in Gotham wouldn't or don't have access to his roof anyway, so in a normal circumstance, it would be a needless expense.
Thursday, October 31st.
Batman's log.
Pronouncing Batman as Batman.
It's a big city. I can't be everywhere.
Sounds like you're just making excuses to be a shitty Batman.
Not even Superman can be everywhere at once, and that dude has super speed. But the point of this monologue is that people think Batman is everywhere, and that's why it's effective. Because fear is a tool. Way to miss the entire point of Batman.
Batman takes his sweet-ass time walking to the gang of kids about to beat up this innocent man because it's more important to build suspense than to rescue people.
Again, the point is fear and intimidation. You tell me which is scarier, a lone man in a batsuit slowly skulking towards you, or a lone man in a batsuit jumping at you like this. This is a harder question than I thought.
The hell are you supposed to be?
Batman's been running around for 2 years, long enough to have a bat signal that makes criminals cower in fear. Then how does this guy not know who he is?
Considering I've been making this series for nearly 5 years, that's the same question I asked this guy.
Dude, Batman just made it past 80 other cops and was following behind Gordon the whole time. What makes you think you're the last defense here when he was clearly invited?
As you can see, this cop is guarding this door, making sure only authorized personnel are allowed in this specific room. As there is a forensics team in here, this could potentially include banning other officers. So my point is that just because he made it past the other officers doesn't mean he should make it in here, especially since the commissioner doesn't want him in here. Remember, Gordon is still only a lieutenant, or however the British pronounce that word.
There's a lot of blood, and dude says it's from the victim's hand, but then he shows us a super clean hand, man. Sure, there's a thumb missing, but I don't see any evidence of massive blood loss.
You clearly see that a thumb is missing, and they later make a hilarious joke about a flash drive with it. This means there is blood somewhere and that the victim was bleeding. What I'm saying is, just because you don't see the blood doesn't change the fact that the characters are, in fact, seeing blood.
He was alive when it was cut off. Ecchymosis.
Jeremy sins Batman for being a detective.
I asked him to come, Pete.
Yeah, but why? Couldn't you just share the evidence with Batman after you checked out the crime scene?
No, because it's evidence and would have to remain in evidence lockup, meaning it's simpler to invite Batman here? What kind of question is this? Do you want to catch the Riddler or not?
Yeah, kid found him.
And left one bloody footprint? You're telling me this kid came home from trick-or-treating, immediately took off his shoes, ran into his father's office, discovered the body, took one step in blood, and then hopscotched somewhere to leave one print?
Couple things wrong with this. First, you don't know if he left more than one print because they only show you a small area. You're drawing a conclusion with barely any evidence. Next, it's entirely possible only one foot stepped in the blood. Most people don't stand in blood with both feet and not notice it. Don't ask me how I know that. And lastly, why are you assuming he took his shoes off? He was dressed as a ninja for Halloween, meaning he's wearing tabi, and that's exactly what this footprint looks like. This is America, remember? Almost no one takes off their shoes in the house, ignoring how gross and filthy that practice is. Imagine wearing a mask all day to avoid a virus, but tracking it through your house because you stepped in it.
Murder, robberies, assault.
Little Caesars.
Hey man, they were the only ones to out Pizza the Hut.
Maybe it's beyond saving, but I have to try. Push myself.
You just said earlier that it's a big city and you can't be everywhere, so maybe you should try to get some help. Or use your incredible money and resources to research what is the root of the problem before going out and beating ass every night.
Congratulations on saying something the movie itself says and then treating it as a sin of the movie. One of the long-standing criticisms of Batman in and out of universe is that he fails to understand that being a vigilante isn't the most effective way of helping his city. Being a billionaire, the best way he can help is through finance, something the mayor says to him in this film. However, the issue is that Batman is just as troubled as the people he helps put away. So really, you're just arguing against characterization.
If this continues, it won't be long before you've nothing left.
I don't care about that.
Well, you f***ing should, because you 100% cannot keep being Batman if there's no money. Goddamn.
Besides the fact that he's mainly talking about the family legacy and not necessarily the money, that's completely wrong. Batman is Batman, whether in or out of the suit. Gadgets be damned.
Why is the car covered? Nothing else in here is covered. If you aren't worried about your electronics gathering dust, why are you worried about it with your car?
Well, that's a silly question. Electronics will inevitably gather dust simply through usage and the fact that they have to be exposed in order to use them. You just ask, why don't you cover your PC if you're going to have a car cover? Seriously, don't do that.
Without a forensics team nearby, Batman pulls a piece of evidence out of another piece of evidence.
It's almost like Batman isn't a cop, so he doesn't care about disturbing a crime scene.
Thumb drive.
I love how Bruce solved the cipher and how...
Skipping over this joke.
Jesus, could you guys not give this to a computer expert before plugging it into your own laptop?
Jeremy, the opening scene established that the police are not willing to work with Batman and that Gordon has to do this on the low. So where are they going to get a computer expert under those circumstances? Oh, you mean right here? Because Batman is a computer expert?
It's encrypted. Try this.
Does Batman have to come up with every solution? Can't Gordon figure out on his own just once?
Maybe in a movie titled The Gordon.
Wish No idea.
So we should definitely visit the Iceberg Lounge and beat tons of ass to get in there without a warrant, instead of just putting this photo into facial recognition software, or, simply asking people who this woman might be.
You mean exactly what Batman does in the next scene? Because he only had to kick ass because they attacked him first. All he went there to do was ask Cobblepot about the girl. And what are you not getting about them being unable to use police resources to solve this crime? Was it the beginning of this movie where they established the police refused to work with Batman, or the middle of this movie where they reveal a significant portion of the cops are dirty? I mean, that's only the plot of the movie.
No matter where Batman goes, it's always fucking raining.
Even this scene?
Oh, so it's that kind of movie, is it? We've got Angel Salvador and Bullseye in this scene with Vampire Bat Edward Cullen. This definitely beats my fanfiction.
Of all the things Zoe Kravitz has been in, you went with her 45-second cameo in X-Men First Class. I mean, Fantastic Beasts and Mad Max are right there.
Luckily for Batman, both Selina and Oz, people who work inside the club, just happen to be outside of the club to be photographed, and Selina is wearing the same boots she wore in the photo.
I know you've been out of the dating game for a while, so allow me to put you on game. Most women wear the same heels on different nights, especially if they're hot shit heels. Go on, check.
I love how in movies, when they're tailing someone, they just get right behind them and count on folks being oblivious. But when I'm out there driving, if a vehicle is directly behind me for more than 3 minutes, I generally assume I'm about to get murdered.
God damn it, Future Birdman, I told you to stay back 3 car lengths.
He's still got the eyeliner on, but is clearly changed out of the batsuit, so I guess he's carrying that thing around everywhere he goes at night, and that has got to be heavy.
So the sin here is that Jeremy wants to know the logistics of the batsuit. Not a plot hole or an inconsistency, the sin is that Jeremy assumes the batsuit is heavy.
This makes no sense to me. She called her roommate on the way home, reassuring her that they would leave immediately, because said roommate is now on the news for being the dead mayor's secret girlfriend. But after coming home and briefly comforting the roommate, Selina is now changed into Catwoman garb and is leaving her roommate alone. I realize she's going to get the girl's passport.
And let me stop you right there, because you are answering yourself. The reason they didn't leave immediately is because she had her passport taken. Besides, what are you asking Selina to do? Take a civilian on a burglary?
Why does Batman follow Catwoman when Annika is the person he's looking for? Because he goes to chase some cattail, the imminently in danger Annika is now in her apartment all alone and, of course, is going to get killed.
He follows Selina because she was also in the photo and he just witnessed her dressed up in a costume, Kelly from the Lost World down a fire escape, and take off somewhere in a hurry. He can clearly see that Annika was fine in the apartment and is following an active lead who is probably going somewhere to commit a crime.
Seriously, about 80% of the crimes in Batman films could be stopped by simply removing the skylight out of a building. It would solve Batman's crime problem he worries about in his diary. Also, what's even worse is that it's the mayor's house once again, the place where he just got murdered. And of course, there's no one around to see this.
Because A, the mayor is no longer there on account of being murdered, so B, why would anyone be here to see this? They already know the killer's purpose was to kill the mayor specifically, so why would they assume someone is returning to the scene?
She's trying to get the hell out of here, and this son of a bitch stole her passport.
Sounds like a convoluted way to get Batman to chase after you, instead of the person he should have stayed around for. It would have made more sense if you were the mayor's mistress and I never even heard of a roommate named Annika.
Seriously, what information could he have gained from Annika that he didn't from Catwoman? He knows she was the mayor's mistress. What he doesn't know is why the mayor was killed, and it's clear Annika wasn't the killer, so she's figuratively a dead end. Also literally.
Took my phone.
You didn't take your phone with you?
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
And the truth about our city will finally be unmasked.
Hey Gordon, doesn't that sound like Paul Dano? Should we cross-reference this with There Will Be Blood to be sure? I think the Riddler's Paul Dano.
I would have skipped this sin, but I wanted to ask, who the hell knows Paul Dano's voice that well?
Batman once again figures something out that any child could, but none of Gotham's detectives can for some reason.
Batman only figures this out because he used a blacklight on an innocuous rat cage and found a cipher in invisible ink. The real sin is, why did Batman know to do this?
Riddler spent 5 times as much effort on this fake greeting card as he did on his costume. This card has raised lettering!
Jeremy thinks the Riddler made this card. He bought that from Hallmark.
Also, if Riddler is able to make raised lettering cards this good, those skills should be traceable. There's a scrapbooking club member somewhere that recognizes this type of raised lettering.
Again, he didn't make this card. The proof is in the clearly handwritten part of the card. You can see his note to Batman is handwritten. If he made this card, there'd be no need to handwrite anything.
Okay, so it's not quite an apple sin, but Selina is constantly chewing gum in this movie. This is a little actor trick to make it seem like they're super cool, but it's goddamn annoying.
I don't know about you, but Zoe Kravitz can chew my gum anytime, if you know what I'm saying. Huh? What was that? No, say it again. You got something you need to say to me? Present Birdman?
Kenzie. William.
Your computer can do facial recognition on this guy, but you can't get one from a photograph of a woman who has an official passport?
You would think Year 2 Batman has records on Gotham City and not the entire United States passport services yet.
Are you sure no one can see these things in my eyes?
Don't worry. I'm watching you.
That doesn't answer the question. Besides, how fast do you think you can get into that club if something goes sideways?
It is an answer to her question. She's asking what happens if someone notices she's a spy, and Batman's answer is he'll protect her if someone figures that out. And asking how fast can Batman enter a building is pretty funny. It's like doubting Superman can lift your sofa.
That's the DA.
In a past life, I knew his wife. She was the sister of the guy who was in that cowboy movie with
Skip!
Also, I know he's on drugs and he likes Selena, but for f***'s sake, is he taking truth serum? Does he think the rat story gives him a shot at her?
You have one of the most beautiful women on the planet asking you questions while you're on dope. Trust me, you're gonna fold.
I'm gonna go pay my respects. Will you wait for me? I want to continue this.
Why not just continue until you're done talking and then go pay your respects? The memorial service hasn't even started yet. I know we want to watch Bruce see himself and the little boy some more, but it's weird she cuts off this super important conversation right when she does.
She's talking about paying her respects to the bereaved, you dope. You do that before the service, and she's the new mayor for Christ's sake.
Wouldn't this call and broadcast on Twitch Talk make him a lot easier to trace and find?
No? Since when does Twitch broadcast your location when you begin streaming? And even then, you can stream directly from a cell phone, which is clearly what Riddler is doing here.
There's a clear computer screen being reflected in Riddler's glasses, but who wants to make a bet that Gotham's finest don't look into that at all?
Jeremy, that's the phone screen, because he's doing this from a phone.
Look, Batman doesn't have armor over his eyes or mouth. He's literally standing right there, and yet the explosion merely knocks him back a few yards and knocks him out. He has no burns or anything once he wakes up.
You literally show footage of Batman protecting his face with his arms in slow motion. If you believe this armor is strong enough to protect his body from that explosion, then his arms, which have that same armor, can protect his face.
You're gonna put yourself on the line for this scumbag, too?
You're the chief. You're pissed off at Batman. Why the f*** are you letting Gordon put himself on the line? What in the incredible f***?
Gordon is one of the brightest lights in this dark town. He not only has the cachet, but also the confidence of the entire police department. He may not be in charge, but when he speaks, people listen. That is literally why the chief is asking him this question. He respects him.
And cops shooting at Batman put tons of civilians in danger.
Jeremy thinks American cops care about putting civilians in danger.
It means a rat with wings, like a stool pigeon.
A penguin's got wings too.
The Riddler left this riddle way too open for interpretation. I thought the idea was to expose the people involved in the corruption, not make people guess multiple correct answers.
But it's not open to interpretation. Batman and Gordon got the Spanish wrong. Penguin was the one to correctly translate the meaning, which revealed the incorrect Spanish was a URL. The real sin here is the guy who dresses up like a bat doesn't recognize rat with wings as a reference to a bat.
Look, if Batman can disappear like this in front of a bunch of people who were looking directly at this car and shooting at it, then he could easily just go up behind them and start beating the fuck out of these dudes rather than running to the car. But the movie says it's time to bring in the Batmobile, so it must, and it's awesome, but...
You guys heard him say the scene was awesome, right? Cool. Jeremy sends something he likes cliche.
It's like the worst Spanish I ever heard.
Honestly, this is probably the real biggest sin of the movie. That only Penguin recognizes the bad male-female pronoun in the Spanish. Gordon is a high-ranking detective, and Batman is Batman, and they both missed this. F*** off.
But that's an incredibly easy mistake to make for someone who doesn't speak the language natively. Seriously, how many non-Spanish speakers even know the difference between El and La? You can't even get people to pronounce Ryu from Street Fighter correctly, and that's a character with over 30 years of popular culture history. The hell is a Ryu?
You think he made a mistake?
He hasn't made mistakes.
It's fine Batman didn't solve this right away, because he's essentially new to this, but the incorrect Spanish was known from the moment Alfred solved the cipher. Why wasn't Batman at least thinking about why there was a mistake?
What? Do you hear yourself? Batman didn't know it was a mistake. That's the entire point of the scene with the Penguin.
Here is the biggest cheat in all of 2022 cinema so far. The editing suggests he has a shot at getting home or calling home in time to stop Alfred from being a bomb victim, when in reality, the movie eventually shows you that Alfred had been injured long before Batman's frantic drive home, so movie is a dick.
So, a staple of cinema for as long as I can remember is a CinemaSin? Playing with the audience's expectations is sinful? Why, exactly?
Alfred opens the package with the obvious Riddler font on it. I mean, run it through an x-ray or some shit, dude. Weren't you military? God damn. And once Alfred sees for the Batman, he should run the fuck away.
He did, which you inexplicably cut out of the footage here.
I've been trying to reach you.
Like, how? Did Batman have his phone on mute?
His phone is obviously in his car. You seriously just asked if Batman, a character that is essentially a ninja, not only has his phone on his person, but also if it's on.
I want to know why a guy like Falcone would owe you anything.
Because he's my father!
Yeah, dun dun dun, and all that. But why did this have to be such a big secret anyway?
Because she's trying to get close enough to kill him and people knowing that information might prevent that? You know, like Batman does in a later scene? Just a thought.
Catwoman is attracted to Batman here for no reason at all. I suppose it's just natural attraction. But given the stakes, it feels more scripted than it does natural.
For no reason? Dude, do you know how many women were attracted to this dude when he was Cedric Diggory, let alone Twinkles the Vampire?
GC1 News continues to let the Riddler say whatever the he wants on their airwaves.
Must resist making a Fox News joke.
Wayne turned to longtime secret associate Carmine Falcone and had him murdered.
The Riddler is doing a very good Sins video here of Bruce Wayne's father, but there are no dings after each observation.
That implies that you actually make observations, and after 100 some odd of these videos, no.
Cross that line. You'll become just like him.
Revenge shaming.
Revenge shaming.
Some folks want to know how all these bullets ricochet, but I just want to laugh at the futility of those bullets fired upon the Batman.
Okay, but where is the sin here? We've already established that not everyone is familiar with Batman as he's only in his second year doing this, so why wouldn't they try shooting him? Seriously, that is the human being's natural... reaction to threats they don't understand. There's a reason we know Superman is bulletproof, and that's because someone tried shooting him.
Bring him into the light, and you'll find where I'm at.
How the could this have been what the Riddler meant by bring him into the light? How could he have known that this is how Falcone would have been dealt with?
Watch the movie. They'll show you.
I'm just gonna say it. This movie has too much in common with The Dark Knight. The filming yourself for the news was one thing, but now we have the villain getting caught intentionally. I'm not saying two movies can't have those two things in common or anything, but damn!
It's almost like they're based on the same comic books or something.
Police! Hands up!
But also, they have one cop who said there was one witness who saw someone come down the fire escape after the shooting and go into the diner. And from that point on, the cops act with absolute certainty that this is the guy. And yeah, he is, but I'm not sure you can arrest someone on the spot because of one witness's word.
No, but they do shoot them based on one witness, don't they?
Love how the cops thought Batman was in on it, and were even wary of him before the Riddler killings. And since all that, nothing's really changed between Batman and the cops, except that Batman got to and searched Riddler's apartment before they did, which doesn't look shady at all. And now they're all just totally chill around the Batman. He's one of the boys in blue now.
Probably because he helped them catch a notorious terrorist that was killing cops. That would be my guess.
Riddler's asking for you at Arkham.
The strange Gotham protocol of taking criminals straight to an asylum continues in this movie. Why is he not down at the nearest precinct being booked and held until he can be arraigned?
Arkham is a facility for the criminally insane. You're asking them to put this in a regular jail.
Also, considering the resources Riddler's been able to use throughout the movie, it's kind of insane that he didn't figure it out. One of the biggest issues I have with villains like this is they don't do basic things like, I don't know, find where the bat signal is being projected and scope out the area, or see the numerous times when Batman went to the club across the street and find a way to tail him to see where he goes after missions.
I think I've heard it all at this point. This man just suggested Batman can be tailed, and that it would be in a villain's best interest to tail Batman.
Here's where Riddler falls apart for me as a character. He was taking down the corrupt city leaders because, as an orphan, he saw them basically steal money intended for orphans and turn it into a crime slush fund. Awesome! Kind of f***ed up, but noble in intent. But here at the end, he's planned to drown as much of Gotham as he can, which turns him back into a cardboard cutout villain bent on maximum mayhem. Boo!
Welcome to Terrorism 101, where the intent may be noble, but they're still trying to kill a bunch of innocent people.
Jesus Christ, even with good armor, this kind of direct hit could easily kill a kidney or a spleen or worse. But it's just a basic knockdown for our Batman.
That's not true. That shot nearly killed him, and he needed a shot of epinephrine to keep his heart going. Are you just going to lie about scenes in extremely popular movies, testing the audience like the sort of hazing people do to women who claim to be fans of the popular nerd thing? Are we the women in this example? Motherfuckers really be out here drinking water. Real niggas drink hydrogen oxide. Breadcrumbs and beaver spit. Also, what brand of cheese are you? 100% Colby. I need a medic bag. I'm dying. Somebody drop a medic bag. If a hot dog is made of the same stuff as bologna, then doesn't that make a bologna loaf one giant hot dog that we cut into smaller pieces to put in a sandwich? And wouldn't a hot dog and a bun be a sandwich?
FBI, open up!
Quero ver ler isso aqui em português. Chega mais no Brasil pra perder no Smash pra mim.
Remember guys, if you want me to read something that you said, drop me a super thanks. And please try to make it funny like these guys did.